blowing.
Yeah. All right, cool.
Now just still checking the microphone.
I don't think Puppeteer is probably not.
No, it's not in your. No, it's not in your.
I don't think so. Yeah.
I don't think it's in your future. Jim Henson Company would not hire you.
Everybody, welcome back. We are the Two Guys From Knowhere.
Still
Josh,
saying that.
Jeff, yes, yeah, it's kind of a little different now, but I also got this fancy scarf. But we're here to talk about Shang Chi today.
I gotta keep reminding myself not to say Shang.
Well, they say in the movie he says Sean.
No, yeah, they changed his name to Sean from Shang. But for years I've always pronounced it Shang-Chi. It's Shang-Chi.
Well, I mean
now I have been proven wrong. Just as Rob Liefeld was once proven wrong that it wasn't pronounced Magneto.
Oof, true. And he wrote for Marvel for so long.
You know, he's just writing the words. He didn't have to
my
sound
gosh,
them out.
unbelievable.
I mean, he probably did have to sound him out, but he probably just did it as Magneto.
Yeah, here's Magneto. Anyway,
that's
so
what we call aside.
We're going to go ahead and get into the movie. Do you want to start this off? Do you want me to start this off?
You can start it off.
Okay, so Shang-Chi, I mean, honestly, loved it. It absolutely exceeded my expectations. This was a fantastic movie. The choreography was fantastic. Acting was great. Had the perfect balance of what Marvel has been able to do, I think, in regards to a little bit of comedy, a little bit of like seriousness, and meld those two things together to create something that was just a really enjoyable movie, but also has really created this idea of bringing another character, which I love that Marvel's able to do right now, is bringing these characters in that you would not normally think would be able to make it in a cinematic universe, and making them completely
not even in a cinematic universe, in a movie.
Yes,
like, at all. Like,
yes,
I mean,
100%.
And they did it with Iron Man first, and no one thought Iron Man would take off the way it did, and it's launched. Now we're in the 12th, 13th year of the MCU.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, I think one of my points on this movie that I love the most, and we obviously had this conversation as we were watching it in the theaters. Support the theaters,
yes,
please.
Definitely support theaters right now. No one needs to start a lawsuit.
They need you.
No one needs to start a lawsuit because you didn't
also,
go to the theaters.
It's the best way to watch a movie because you're not distracted. You can really just spend your time there and focus on the movie. You know,
unless Josh is sitting next to you, then he just keeps talking to you the whole movie.
Well,
I'm just kidding. Or the two people in front of us who literally commented on every single thing that happened. That actually happened.
But you know, as we were watching the movie, one of the things that I loved about this the most is the choreography was fantastic.
Oh yeah,
I mean it was top notch.
Yeah,
one of my favorite scenes was when they're fighting on the rafters.
Yeah, well,
there was another good scene where he kicks his dad's rings, and there's this
he walks on him. Let's save all that.
Okay.
Let's table that for now. Here's my thoughts. No, I loved it as well. I don't have any hot takes. I loved it a lot. But it was funny when I remember they first announced it. And I don't remember if they just announced that it was Shang-Chi. They were just making a Shang-Chi movie.
Yeah.
Or if they had revealed the title and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I can't remember that. If it was, but I was like, really, you're gonna make a Shang-Chi movie?
Yeah.
Or as I said it then, you're gonna make a Shang-Chi movie. But yeah, I was like, that's interesting, but makes sense. He's been a member of the Avengers before in the comics. He's sort of had a resurgence in comics in the last few years. Getting back to a little bit more notoriety. That's not a word. Notoriety in the mainstream, kind of more of a push. Whereas when he was first introduced, he was basically just a Bruce Lee analog.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's just basically a Bruce Lee analog kung fu. Kung fu was very popular in the 70s, and some people still love it. It's not totally my thing, so sometimes, yeah, sure, but whatever. But to what you were saying, like the fight choreography, like it's damn near the best the MCU's had so far.
100%.
With the exception of maybe like Daredevil, even though that's not technically in the canon, but you can talk about fight choreography in like Spider-Man or Captain America. I mean, Captain America has wonderful fight scenes. But you're talking about a superhuman.
Yeah.
You know, a super soldier who can pull off like all these moves and is very agile and stuff, like Black Panther, like in Civil War when he first shows up and does that double kick. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But in this, you know, you literally just have a guy who just is so trained beyond the normal, like, Olympic level athlete.
Yes,
and just,
absolutely,
just kicking ass.
And I think it's, you know, going back to,
like,
they
did a lot of really cool, interesting things. Like, again, like what you were saying about the battle on the scaffolding.
Yeah,
you know, it was like they did a lot of interesting, really cool ways of the choreography and the dance, like sort of the dance of that fight was really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, going back to what you said, like as far as like Daredevil, you know, and not having that, essentially, like, we don't know where that's in. It's kind of in limbo as far as like what it is a part of the MCU. Yeah. Obviously, when they introduced Daredevil, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, apparently took like place 6 months or so after the battle in New York. Because they referenced obviously the Hulk and things like that. And so I think it was unique in this movie because, you know, you could have gone with Iron Fist, which is probably a more well-known character for getting into that kind of kung fu idea.
Maybe.
Right? And they decided to just go a completely different way. And this movie was just fantastic. And I think it's great to watch Marvel take these characters that you would not normally follow in comics, and really put them in the forefront what this character is going to be huge.
Yeah,
I really do think it's going to be huge.
And that's what I was saying a little bit. I kind of touched on a little bit was just, you know, again, like Iron Man. You know, if you were a fan of comics, a lot of people were fans of Iron Man, but the main I don't want to say mainstream media. That sounds stupid. It sounds stupid anytime anyone says it. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Anywho, the main public consciousness, like, Iron Man wasn't really a popular character. Like, if you really in the comics, you might have really liked Iron Man. You really might have liked a lot of his story arcs, like Demon in the Bottle, or the one where he was young. But actually, no one likes that one. That's The Crossing. And then same thing with Captain America. Like, Captain America is an icon, but again, the general public probably not huge Captain America fans, and Thor maybe also the same. But you started out the MCU with these sort of lesser known, and I don't mean lesser known like, I'm just saying in the general public consciousness. Like, we've had, like, everybody knew the X-Men by this point.
Exactly.
Everyone knows Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like, you know, everybody knows the Hulk. And
so
because you had iconic previous either iterations or shows or cartoons or whatever that all featured these characters, so they were a lot more in the public knowledge. And now, like, again, we starting off basically kind of the real start of Phase 4. I mean, I know technically WandaVision, Loki, Falcon and Winter Soldier, those were really the beginning of Phase 4. And Black Widow doesn't really count because it's an interlude story in between something happened in Phase 3. But this being the actual first movie, and Far From Home is the end of Phase 3. So this is really kind of the first real cinematic introduction into Phase 4. And they did a lot of really cool and interesting things. Introducing Shang Chi, which again, when they first announced that, I was going, huh? Like, I was like, Shang Chi, really? But now after seeing it, I kind of get where they're going. Like, they're starting this phase off kind of with a lesser known character again. They're kind of in a weird way, they're going back to the well, but in another weird way, like, it's really not, because we're still like, this is still a train that's moving forward. And it's always moving forward, and it's always been moving forward, and it's still going. And this is just another. And
example. I think that, you know, like, coming to your point, you have Iron Man, you have Thor, you have these household names that maybe might not be like really like idolized characters. You have, like you said,
I'm saying were, but now obviously
now. But that's what I'm saying. Like, you're alluding to the X-Men cartoon series, Spider-Man cartoon series, like, you know, so. It's nice.
Shit billion of them.
It's nice to see Marvel really, like, dive deep into the lore that they've created, and to bring these characters into what I think is going to be a forefront. I mean, I after watching this movie, I am so excited to see where they're going to continue to take this character, because this movie
and
was,
they definitely leave that off. You know, spoilers, obviously. They definitely leave that off at the end with him and Katie Awkwafina, who, much to my delight, did not annoy the ever-loving shit out of me the entire movie. I actually really enjoyed her.
She had a great character.
She was on Awkwafina 7. Typically, Awkwafina is always on 10. And you know what? I root her for it, but it gets a little grating. I'm glad you stayed at a crisp 7. Holding it. Nice and funny and just not too much.
Yeah.
Anywho, but yeah, with them hanging out with Wong and talking about the rings, which we're gonna get. Let's get into that next. Just bringing it up.
Yeah, let's jump into the
talking
rings.
about the rings and kind of what might be coming.
Yeah. And so, you know, before we get into the rings, one thing that I really loved about this movie was you know, if we're going to talk about Wong and we're going to talk about Awkwafina and you know, the acting in this movie, was I loved the concept of, oh, we could just go home, we can just do this. And then they go to the karaoke bar. Well, and it's so entertaining.
And that's the thing too. That was kind of another reason why I was a little bit surprised, because the MCU is typically a little bit, you know, lighthearted. Their characters are typically a little bit lighthearted and a little bit more of a little wild cards, like not really responsible people, minus like Cap and then Thor after Ragnarok. But then you know, you bring in Shang Chi, and I was like, sorry, Shang-Chi. And, you know, I've always known Shang-Chi in the comics to be a lot more stoic, a little bit more serious, a little bit, you know, a total straight-faced kung fu master type of thing. Yeah. And this totally different. Like, they totally made him a slacker. Yeah. But when it came to fighting, you know, he was badass. But he made him a bit of a slacker, and I loved the joke of, you know, we what we were talking about earlier, could go home. And then they just karaoke for the rest of the night and pass out drunk.
And it's just fantastic story writing.
No, yeah.
You know,
because again, like you said, it makes it much more enjoyable to watch. You know, you don't want to watch. I mean, people, and I've said this before on the cast, but people always want to give the MCU shit that everybody's magical quip machines. I was like, no, people talk that way to each other.
Absolutely.
And you know, there's nothing that. I mean, obviously, it's a little bit more clever than just say you and I bantering. Yeah. Because they're professional writers writing it. Yeah. But at the same time, that's how people talk to each other, and especially in this instance where, you know, you're talking about Katie and Shang-Chi, they're best friends. Like, so much to the point that, like, literally her family thinks they're gonna get married. Yeah. Like, they're that close. Like, they just spend every freaking waking second together. They work together and they hang out together, and that's sort of the thing. But yeah, it was great to like not have that. It would have been a lot less enjoyable had he been more akin to a sort of stoic character like he is in the comics. At least from what I know. And again, I'm not an expert on Shang-Chi in the comics. I know a little bit from what I've read and knowing his introductions. But yeah, but that being said, let's talk about the Mandarin. And
okay,
because in talking about differences of portrayals, I think the Mandarin's sort of in there as well.
So this is a interesting topic, to be honest. I'm gonna throw this out there because
it really is. That's why I want to bring it up.
You were using the restroom during this time.
Well, I missed one expository line.
So Shang-Chi's dad,
and you missed another expository line.
I did.
You did.
So that's what happens, I guess, when you use the restroom.
One bad thing about theaters.
Yeah,
no pause.
No pause. So, but
That'd be sick though.
He references himself as being the Mandarin. They based the character of the Mandarin based off of him, Shang-Chi's dad. And I thought that was very clever because, look, let's be honest. Marvel dropped the ball on the character of the Mandarin, in my opinion. So
this time, or are you talking about?
No, previous.
Are we talking about
previous. We're talking about Iron Man 3.
We will get into.
Iron Man.
We will get into our friend and our hero and our comic relief, Trevor Slattery, in a minute.
Okay, that's fine. But it also, if you think about it this way, Trevor Slattery was not the Mandarin. It was Guy Pearce.
Yeah. No, that's where they dropped the ball.
Kill again.
That's where they dropped the ball.
And that's where they dropped the ball.
Yeah.
So, in this movie, it was almost a nod to the fact that they were like, oh, we kind of messed this up. And so this is how this is where the character is based off.
I have words.
I know, but I
have words. But I have words.
Weren't there anyway.
Wait, I missed one line where they talked about him being called the Mandarin.
But so I love this concept of, they have this essentially lifeless person that gets these powers from these rings.
Well, he's not lifeless. He's life full, actually, because he's immortal.
Well,
he's life full. He's so full of life, it's coming out of every orifice.
Whatever. Anyway,
giggity.
He is so I thought it was great to portray him that way. As they didn't really make him the Mandarin. They didn't call him the Mandarin. They made him an iteration of the concept of the Mandarin. And I thought that was great. I thought it was well done.
I'm going to disagree with you a little bit because that was actually one thing I did miss that one thing, but he never quite referred to himself, nor did anybody else ever refer to him as the Mandarin.
Absolutely.
However,
and that's why it was well done.
In the one-shot hit.
Because it's still in the back pocket.
Doesn't matter.
They can still bring it out.
What, bring out another Mandarin?
Yeah, sure they can.
Fine, whatever. Sure, that's lazy.
They didn't show all their cards.
That'd be lazy as shit. Anywho, but so, okay. When talking about the Mandarin, and I'm gonna go on a fucking rant here because everybody always wants to talk shit about how bad Iron Man 3 was. I get the Aldrich Killian. It would have been a lot better had they just kind of stuck with AIM, like AIM being like, and not him starting to breathe fire and shit. But I did like the Trevor Slattery of it because, so when thinking about the Mandarin and his introduction to Marvel Comics and his origins, really what it was an analogy of East versus West, Eastern mysticism versus Western industrialism, Eastern communism versus Western democracy. Like that's why
I thought we weren't talking politics on this podcast.
That's
just kidding.
Anyway, that's what the Mandarin. That's why the Mandarin was pitted against Iron Man as his arch nemesis.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
it was those two things, a Western industrialist in the United States versus an Eastern communist mystic.
Yes.
Then of course they changed sort of the idea of the rings throughout the years as being alien tech. And in the comics, each ring did something different. And these, they were just sort of more. They were bangles. They were bangles that basasically acted like whiplashes. And
do you think they walked like an Egyptian when they were wearing them?
Okay. I mean, how could he not? They jingled and they jangled. However, so when in Iron Man 3, when they sort of did the version of the Mandarin that was Trevor Slattery, I thought that was really freaking interesting because it kind of spoke to the times at that time of Western democracy versus Middle Eastern terrorists.
Yeah,
and that was a really cool play. And had they just done that and not done the twist of him being an actor, like I think they could have done something really really cool with just that. However, I loved the fucking reveal of Trevor Slattery that he was just a figurehead. He was just a dummy. He was just he was just some some actor, and especially like because it's such a comic relief moment that he's he's passing out, but then his soccer team scores and he's like ole ole ole. Like, that was just so fucking funny. No, and so I just really hate when everyone like talks shit about that because I thought it was so fucking clever. I don't know. A lot of people don't like it. Like again, I think had they just kept the route where Ben Kingsley was the Mandarin and it was more of a kind of an updating of that trope or that what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, I'm just gonna go with trope. I can't remember the other word I was looking for. But that allegory and that trope from allegory. Yeah, I found it like right after I said I wasn't gonna find it. From the 60s when Iron Man was introduced and the Mandarin was introduced and updating it to a modern audience and making it play with the times, that would have worked too. However, I did love the twist. It was just a fun little twist, and it was super fucking clever.
And I think the twist was good, and I agree with you on that completely. But I kind of like that they came full circle with it.
That's where I was going to go.
And that's really like where Iron Man 3, where Marvel has kind of... Marvel knows when they make mistakes. They know based off of like how fans' interactions are to characters.
Well, and also, but by this point,
and
we know...
they've literally, without saying it, they basically said that
for sure.
he was the Mandarin. And,
it
was great.
They did that in the one-shot, Hail to the King. When the Mandarin broke, which I don't know how that falls in the timeline, given what they talk about in this movie. Was it like right after Shang Chi's mom died? Again, spoilers. If that's when he's like coming back into power, like that's why they get him out. Maybe that's what was the whole thing. Like maybe that's why he actually did let him, or he was allowed to just act as the Mandarin for however long he was doing.
Yeah.
And then finally, when Shang-Chi's mother died and he put back on the rings, then he was like, nah, we're gonna go get this guy.
Yeah.
But so before we talk about Trevor Slattery, I want to talk about the Mandarin. I did.
The Mandarin, as we call him now.
I didn't like that they never really referred to him as the Mandarin. The one thing about the rings, they were not rings, they were bangles, and wildly different from the comics. Now, I will say this: that I've read theories of Marvel loves to change things a little bit to be something else. I've read theories that maybe this version of the rings, why they're not actual rings as they are in the comics. In the comics, again, each ring they were like alien tech.
Yeah,
they were basically alien tech, and then each ring had like a different power. Like one was flight and invisibility and all that shit. But because they're bangles in this one, and Shang-Chi was able to change the energy type, they are not actually really the 10 rings. They are the 10 rings, but they're also the quantum bands.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
which would make sense, just in the same way they did. They made the Tesseract, which was the cosmic cube in the comics, also the Reality Stone or Space Stone.
No, that makes sense. So yeah,
that'd be like a clever way of changing that up. Again, the only thing I didn't really like is it just kind of didn't. Okay, the idea that he was immortal sort of didn't make sense. And then once you saw like the early battles that he had done in whatever century was.
See, it was cool,
but it didn't really make sense.
But see, so I'm going to disagree with you on this, because I love this concept of that. You have this thing that grants you this power.
Yeah.
Right. And obviously
absolute power corrupts absolutely.
And yes, absolutely. So, but
I read books, man.
He makes this decision to put them down to live his life.
Yeah.
And I love the concept of these things, the rings having this power.
Yeah.
Because had the events not occurred that they did in the movie, he may have just lived out his life.
Maybe.
And
well, I mean, it's never quite explicitly said if putting on the rings made him.
They say that at the beginning.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, they say that at the beginning.
No. I was gonna say if he put him down, like would he then just be mortal?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's him wearing them is what makes him mortal.
Maybe that's something that's inferred more than.
Yeah, and so I love that concept because it's just bringing in something supernatural into this concept of like, well, this person would not have this power. It's introducing like a really supernatural element,
and again,
that's I think is just fantastically done.
Something as well. I mean, just sort of. I don't think it's really introducing a supernatural element. I think it's the thing that MCU's always done is sort of mixing magic and tech.
Yes,
and making
100%,
and in a way making magic make sense, making certain technologies that might seem outlandish make more sense. It's sort of convoluted a little bit in a way because everything can be explained. It's tech or magic. Or
it's a little bit of science, a little bit of religion, a little bit of mysticism. It's all those things.
It's the thing Thor says to Jane Foster in the first Thor. What you call science, or what you call magic, we call science. It's okay. You play a little fast and loose with that, but it's cool.
So I think that it was really clever that they did it that way. And one thing that I did really liked about this movie was obviously you have this idea of what the rings look like depending on who is controlling them. And you have this concept obviously when Shang-Chi's dad controls them, they're very dark.
You just call him the Mandarin.
The Mandarin, sure. They're very dark And then when Shang-Chi gets a hold of him, they're light.
Well,
he's emanating this good energy that changes how the rings work, how they react.
I don't know I don't know if it exactly works that way in like a mood ring sort of manner, but
it's all I don't know. Having a bad day.
Having a bad day. Shake it. Ask again later.
That was my Seth Rogen plug right now. That's the only one I got.
And I did like a half Arnold impersonation for some weird reason. But yeah, no, I don't know if it was exactly like his energy. I think it was like the way when they're fighting, the way he affected it, or something like that. I don't know. Again, it was, and again, I kind of get why they made him in more bangles instead of actual rings. The way they are in the comics is again, kind of, I think, setting up maybe the quantum bands. Yeah. Maybe bringing in Quasar or another Marvel.
Well, especially because they don't know how long they've existed for.
Yeah.
At the end,
also there's a beacon. There's
the beacon. Yeah. So definitely could be introducing that. Yeah.
Or just some other cosmic thing.
Galactus would be great.
Yeah, that wouldn't make sense. I think more like a Quasar, or like a Nova, or something like that. So some other cosmic hero, or some other cosmic threat, maybe a Nihilus or something like that. Anyways, that's just me spitballing on. I could sit here and name names forever, just and none of it makes sense.
But and again, like, I just disagree with you with that because I do think that this movie was really based on this concept of like the right choice to make and the wrong choice to make, and Shang-Chi came to this decision of that he was raised a certain way and he's made some wrong decisions, but at the end, when he's literally coming to himself and being like, I have to kill my father, but he chooses not to make that decision when he's fighting his dad. And I think that's where the change in the color for the rings comes from, is him realizing that that's not the right decision to make. And it shows in the glow how the rings change.
And also I think it could be just the simple thing of like familial drama, or familial issues one might have with a parent, that like I got especially neglectful parent, which the Mandarin clearly is in this. After I mean, both him and his sister, Xialing.
I think that's accurate.
It might be. It's close enough.
Hopefully, it's accurate.
It's close enough. For us at least. And their, his detachment to them after their mother died.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
The forcing Shang-Chi to train as much and basically abusing him, practically, and then neglecting his daughter completely. Turning his child into an assassin, which he lies about. He lies about it first, and then is honest about it.
Yeah.
But then you see it a lot. Like again, it's the balance they keep talking about you have your father, and you have your father's anger and your father's will to conquer, or you have your father's power and his sort of drive, but you also have your mother. You have the calm. You have the
definitely the balance between the two.
Yeah, the balance
and that's why.
And I think that's where the rings can. I think that sort of more explains why the rings change color, because I think if, like it shows in the trailer, with is this what you want? That's when he's literally going. He wants to kill him.
Yeah.
But then once he gets his ass handed to him, and then realizes calm.
Yeah.
USA.
Yeah.
And then that's when he realizes that balance within himself, and also gets he changes the color of the rings as he's battling, and they sort of switch off. And that battle scene was awesome, because again the way they. And again, I'm talking shit about them being bangles, but it made for really cool fights because they use them so much more interesting than I think just having the 10 rings.
Absolutely,
have 10 different powers. Like, oh yeah, but he's to shoot ice and fire and whatnot.
Yeah,
but using them in that way of where they sort of like ricocheted off of him, so he
so they could project themselves,
not fly necessarily, but high jump.
Yeah,
unlock the high jump code.
No, absolutely,
and just use them to walk on to do a better spin kick or something.
Yeah,
that was cool. That was really, really cool.
And I think that like what's interesting about this movie that I thought was really good was this concept of kind of coming to terms with how like finding yourself despite everything that has
100%.
happened in your life. And
well, and not even despite what happened in your life, is just finding yourself when you don't like, when you're sort of a slacker, like him and Katie are.
Yeah.
I can't remember the line for the life of me, but when Katie starts shooting the arrows,
and he
learns how to shoot the arrows, and he says a really freaking cool line. I think it's like, you miss every shot you don't take. It's something cheesy like that.
Yeah. But it's a great line.
Something so bumper stickery, but
it's true. It's really impactful
to her. It's really impactful. It's a good character moment for her.
Yes, absolutely. Because then she gets that last shot because she like finally believes in herself. You know, has put a little more
and her
archery effort.
And her archery teacher just bought the big one.
Yeah, gets soul sucked.
Yeah. And then Death Dealer also goes out like a punk. There's Death Dealer or Death Watch, the blue ninja guy.
Oh yeah. He just gets. Yeah. I mean, like, he's like this big character in the entire movie.
In the trailer,
he was a big character in the entire movie.
He fought Shang Chi one time.
All of his flashbacks.
Yeah.
He's like, it's this dude. Yeah. And then he's like, just gets taken up later.
Yeah, it is later.
It's like,
but I also love that being.
I also
love that being the reason Razor Fist goes. Which again, Razor Fist car. Yes, of course he would own a car that had Razor Fist, like really big across, like a monster truck, but like not a monster. But it was like a fucking. It was like a Prius.
It was a BMW.
Yeah, whatever. Which was weird too. Oh yeah, no, I remember commenting that it was weird. It's not an Audi.
Yeah.
Again, only heroes drive Audis. But yeah, we should work together. And that was cool too. Just using, and again, that's another one of those things that the MCU they just always nail, is using characters that if this was handled by any other studio, let's say it was fucking Fox made a Shang-Chi movie or something or anything, and it would be Razor Fist would be the main bad guy.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Razor Fist isn't a main bad guy. He's hired help. He's the thug.
Yeah.
But it's cool to get to see a character like that. Fairly comic accurate, minus, the gimp mask and having two Razor Fists.
Yeah.
But, whatever. We'll take what I can get. That's, cool enough. And then again, with Death Dealer or Death Watch, I cannot remember his fucking name. I know it's Death Blank.
Insert name right here.
Yeah, it's Death Dealer or Death Watch. It's one of those two, and that much I know. It's Death Blank. Again, another lesser-known character from Shang-Chi and from comics that, he's not in it much, and he doesn't have much really to do. He, fights Shang-Chi in a pretty cool battle.
Yeah, absolutely.
In one really cool fight, which is all in the trailer, so kind of whatever. But it's just cool to be able to use a character like that just...
Yeah, and I totally agree with you on this concept of how the MCU is able to handle these characters and how they create these characters, how they bring them into the cinematic universe and how they utilize them. It's
because as comic fans,
very entertaining.
Yeah, and because as comic fans, it's just cool to see certain characters pop in. Whereas before in earlier comic book movies, they'd throw in they would never throw in
I always call stepping stone villains. The MCU has done that for a long time, and they're moving away from that.
That's not what I'm talking about, actually.
I'm
talking about. No, I don't think I disagree with that.
Red Skull is not a stepping stone villain.
But how is it a stepping stone? I mean, it was a movie. And again, that was earlier on in the MCU where you were still stuck to a bit of a formula where the bad guy kind of had to die at the end,
Yeah.
But hey, we got him back. It's not a threat. He's not a villain, but it made sense. He didn't die. He disappeared. It all came back together.
Yeah,
but what I'm talking about is Marvel, the Fox X-Men movies, early ones. It's Toad. You could have just Toad in there or Sabretooth, but it's then. I actually think that's a bad example, only because Sabretooth wasn't really Sabretooth. He just was a mindless fucking monster.
In the
first
X-Men movie, yeah.
But, each character, I feel I don't know. I'm having trouble, really enumerating this, but what I mean is more if it had been an earlier, another studio, they would have done something where, Razor Fist was like the main bad guy, and he had like, was like a kingpin and the
I agree with that.
And that's what I mean. Like, it's cool
Yeah.
for us comic fans to just be able to see certain characters that they don't fucking deserve to be a highlight necessarily.
Well,
even though weirdly Razor Fist ended up kind of being a highlight of the movie.
Well, and I mean, realistically,
for no other reason than his car.
if you think about those characters in the comics, they're not the main character anyway.
No, exactly.
So it's nice to see them portrayed
maybe like one run here.
You might have one storyline where
one
it's
limited
like
series.
one limited series where they come in and
like Original Sin, where like what was it? The guy with the eyeball. Like, I think it's just called Eyeball.
Original Sin.
No,
Daredevil.
that was it was a whole like it was a mini series. The Orb. The Orb was like the main bad guy. And it's like it's literally a dude with like an eyeball for a head.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's an aside.
But yeah, so I think let's touch on a couple of characters in this movie.
Yeah. So let's start with Shang-Chi. I mean, I feel like we've already done this, but he was just Simu Liu was just like awesome, right? Simu Liu.
Fantastic acting. I mean, honestly,
great.
He was fantastic.
Again, he was hilarious. His dynamic with Awkwafina. We are not going to talk about Awkwafina anymore. Sorry, I'm sorry. I just can't. His dynamic with Katie was awesome, and also the way he sort of flips from like, when the bus fight happens and he's she's like, what the fuck, and at first he just sort of thinks he's being mugged, but then goes full into like, no, these people are legit. Let me go for it. And that fight scene is like damn near one of the best fight and sort of in a way chase scenes. Runaway bus.
Yeah, I mean it was fantastic. I love her. I will dive into Awkwafina for a second. I love this concept. I love this concept of when obviously they're valeting cars. It's you get him. He's doing the push-ups, and you're like, oh my god, he's like some badass executive. Boom, he's valet.
Yeah.
And then she has this concept of
I don't know if I got the idea he was some badass executive. I mean, he's living in like a studio apartment. Like a basement studio apartment.
Yeah, in San Francisco. It's
true. Okay,
outrageous. Okay, so I'm just gonna say a studio apartment in San Francisco is probably like 2,300.
And he is putting on a suit.
And he's putting on a suit. Okay, so that being said,
white shirt,
but very very executive role.
Yeah.
Business
middle management.
Okay, but then she's like, oh, I'm like the Asian Jeff Gordon, and he's like, I have no idea what that is. Like, I have no idea who that is. But then when they do get into the bus scene, obviously her driving capabilities is like what kind of allows them to get out of that scenario. And driving capabilities, yeah.
I mean, they're literally it's speed.
It is. I was gonna say it's a la Speed. It's
the whole sequence is Speed. If Keanu Reeves in Speed was also John Wick.
Yes. But yeah, I like you said, I love the character dynamic. I mean, and then like you said, when he's like, oh shit, my dad's after me, and I'm a completely different person than you thought I was,
and he sort of messes up.
Yeah, and his character arc just really from there goes into this really fantastic story.
Yeah, definitely.
Again,
the one thing that was weird is he's almost killed. They're both valets. Where does he have the money to just like fuck off to Japan?
I'm gonna be honest.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, I will let it go. Like
they went to Macau.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
they went somewhere that is not cheap.
Yeah,
and a long flight. But it was funny.
And he also brought her. So.
Yeah. Because I remember the time thinking like, oh well, obviously he's the Mandarin's son, like so because I mean that way there's the way the flashbacks work. It's from the get go that's the Mandarin's son. So I'm like, okay, he obviously has some money. He's the Mandarin's son. Then it's like, no, I've been on the run for like, I've been on the run for 12 years. When you first met me, I had literally just killed a man, and I'm on the run. Well, you're both. I mean, granted, maybe you're both valets.
he did the job. Wire transfer.
Maybe.
Wire transfer.
Yeah, he may have had,
You know,
he may have. But I mean,
who
like,
knows? Who knows?
But it was like 15. I don't know, man.
Wire transfer.
You know, whatever.
Wire transfers,
it's one of
they're
it's
out
one of those
there.
things. It's like the 8 years later in Spider-Man: Homecoming. We'll let it slide. It's fine.
Absolutely.
Something.
Absolutely.
Not everything needs a huge fucking
Explanation.
Explanation. Anyways, that was just like, it was funny to me. But yeah, when they get back to the compound, or when they go to Macau and meet his sister, and his sister sort of obviously been doing well for herself, and she sort of figured out life on her own, and she was a really great character as well. I think especially when she runs off, but then actually comes back to save him.
Yeah,
and she just throws that like, now you know how it feels.
Yeah.
By the way, there was an actual post-credit scene we missed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
All it was she's taking over the 10 rings. There it is.
Oh, no shit. Okay.
Anyways.
So, but yeah, going into that, just touching on a couple characters that did show up in this movie, I love the concept of Wong and Abomination.
It
was fantastic.
It was great.
I loved it.
And
I mean,
and I'm really interested to see why and where that goes. It has to, because they walk away like they're buddies.
Yeah.
He even says, "You're getting better about pulling your punches," or something along those lines.
Yeah, it's kind of like like, here's a towel, let's hit the room, like we'll
like
after
a dumb exhibition fight.
Exactly. Like he was selling it maybe a little bit, and they were gaining some money off of selling their fights.
And Wong just apparently prize fighting for a little bit of money.
Yeah, and
which kind of goes against what he said in Doctor Strange, in Infinity War. I don't have any cash. Well, fine, I'll buy you metaphysical ham on rye.
Yeah. But a good, bringing another character into a movie, making them relevant. I mean,
and it was cool that it wasn't like Wong was trapped there and being force fight Abomination. Because it showed in the trailer, everyone saw Abomination. Was like, why is Wong fighting Abomination?
Yes.
It was cool that it wasn't this whole story thing. It was just literally Wong and Abomination having a little sparring match, and then broing out. Which it's just interesting. It's going to be really interesting. I really hope they explore. I just hope they bring Abomination back. Maybe
absolutely.
For like in more of a heroic, maybe anti-heroic role.
Yeah.
Like a Gamma Force or in a fucking actual Mark Ruffalo Hulk movie, which I want.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Or just in some kind of future capacity, just showing up again, because it would be cool. Kind of, if for no other reason, just to bring the Incredible Hulk back into the MCU. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking about the film, not obviously the Hulk has been, but I'm talking about that film and its relevance to the chronology.
Yeah.
Which I know in a previous episode we couldn't remember, we forgot about it. I know. But then you remember that Tom Hiddleston and Loki have been a mainstay of the MCU since like the second movie.
Yes,
I don't know if it was was it the second or was Thor the third? That I can't remember.
I think Thor was the.
Because I thought it was Iron Man. I think it was Iron Man 2. No, Iron Man 2. Then Thor.
Then Captain America. Then
Avengers.
Okay.
I think. I could be wrong, but that's why. That's the order of events as I seem to kind of remember them.
Don't judge our timeline.
But we completely forgot about it.
Yes, we did.
but that's what I'm saying. I feel like that movie has its merits and needs to have its relevance brought back into the MCU.
It is kind of a footnote. Realistically, because you're changing actors.
It is. You're changing actors,
big changes, and
you were dealing with an actor who is notorious for, fucking up movies he's in because he wants complete control. And fun fact,
damn dude, I didn't know that. Edward Norton, if you're watching this.
Oh yeah. When we're done filming this, I'll tell you. No. I'm not the only one. I love you. Trust me, I love you. American History X, Death to Smoochie, fucking the Primal Fear, dude, love you. However,
Fight Club.
You're a dick. That was the one I was forgetting. But no, we'll talk about that after this. That's our conversation for later.
Off camera.
Yeah, off camera. No, but that movie has a lot of its merits, and apparently, allegedly, from what I've heard, is that initially the director did really, or no, either Marvel Studios or the director actually wanted to cast Mark Ruffalo first. That's why he actually ended up getting the job.
Which, at the end of the day, if I'm going to be honest, having seen The Incredible Hulk, they went with a much better decision. Mark Ruffalo plays the dichotomy between Hulk and Bruce Banner very well. And
that was
the right choice.
Absolutely, no. No, what I'm saying, it was someone pushed for Edward Norton, but it could have always been Mark Ruffalo. However, because of the legality of the way I believe it's Paramount or Universal and their ownership rights of the Hulk, we might not have gotten a Mark Ruffalo in the MCU. So it worked out for the best.
Isn't it funny how things just work out?
I know it worked out for the best because you're completely correct. I mean. Sorry, I mean this is a total aside. This is a total tangent, but no, but you're 100% correct. I mean, Mark Ruffalo plays both Bruce Banner and the Hulk
very well.
Wonderful, and being just sort of a dork and not being so serious. Mm-hmm. You know the way Eric Bana played him, and also
Edward
Norton. But that being said, the end of my point is just literally that it's good to kind of be able to bring that movie sort of back into relevance a little bit. Maybe bring back
absolutely by bringing back Abomination.
You know, because we've kept Thunderbolt Ross, and so
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
So I think just touching points on a couple other characters. Obviously, the dad was fantastic. I mean, I don't...
He doesn't keep calling him the dad, huh? Just call him Mandarin, man.
All right. The Mandarin was fantastic. I loved his character. I think his character arc was very unique in the sense of, being somebody that was obsessed by power.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
coming to this idea that, like, power is not everything. Yeah. Finding love, finding another reason to live.
And then
losing it and going right back. And which is, I think, completely relatable in his sense, where you have literally lost everything that you cared about.
Well, and not to mention, I mean, the beginning of the movie opens with the story of the Mandarin conquering blah blah blah. But then him falling in love.
Yeah,
and you having that beautiful sort of dance, very crouching,
which I
very Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
It is very Crouching Tiger,
very. And I'm sorry, I'm going to just say this. It's very every single kung fu movie since Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Yeah. A little bit more dancey in the form of martial arts.
A lot less like superhuman, like we're running across bamboo stalks, but yeah, no, a lot more dancey. But yeah, you literally are talking about this warlord and the way he for thousands of years, again, I don't know how that works, conquered civilizations and toppled governments and blah blah blah. But then decides he wants to find this mystical place and meets the love of his life, and it's just where they're fighting, but it's almost a dance and like almost a flirtation.
It's beautiful scene.
And it was cool that you kind of had a callback to that later when Shang Chi and him are fighting.
Yes,
you have where
as he looks up to his son and realizes like, that's he's learned that art form, and he's kind of doing
it reminds
the same
him
thing.
Of his mother, and
exactly.
I think that's what ultimately makes his sacrifice at the end. What makes him make that sacrifice is because it kind of reminds him of that and kind of brings him back to that place. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the one thing with the Mandarin again, the Bengals, it was actually just because he just sort of seemed more, and it was just more about the look, and it's stupid, but because he was just much more of like Asian kingpin. Mob boss guy.
Yeah.
Just suit, short hair.
Yeah.
That one shot of him, wearing the robes and with longer hair. No Fu Manchu, because that's racist, and it was racist when they fucking did it in the 60s. But I mean, I'll be honest.
Shut up, I'm growing out now.
Are you really?
No.
Okay. No, I mean, if you grow, you can have a Fu Manchu. It's not racist to have a Fu Manchu. But when they did it, when they introduced the Mandarin,
yes,
it's what it is known. It was very racist back then. But but again, like that, just for him to, you see that awesome shot where he's got the long hair and he's got the robe, looking very warlord-esque.
Yes,
and very
absolutely.
kind of that more regalness of like power.
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Then just again be basically a mob boss.
Yeah.
Which, whatever.
So the one thing I think that I want to touch on, because I think we should wrap this up pretty soon here, that I didn't like about this movie.
Okay, go ahead.
I was...
Is it Aquafina?
No.
I'm just kidding. Kidding.
That was your...
Kidding. Joking. No, I said I did like Aquafina. I just don't like Aquafina normally.
I wasn't a huge fan of the dragons sequence. I just,
the dragons and like the one who dwells in darkness, whatever.
Yeah, like for me, I just, like, I loved this concept of, obviously, when they get to whatever
Talo.
we want to call it, the Hollow Earth.
Talo.
Yeah, Talo. But I mean,
Talo.
I know what I'm saying.
They say the word the two words.
Yeah, but I'm saying like what people would consider the Hollow Earth.
Yeah,
right.
Got it.
It's great to see all these mystical creatures that are prominent in Chinese culture.
Yeah.
And it's awesome to see them, like...
Let's say Asian culture.
Asian culture? Okay.
Yeah.
Asian culture, I mean, whatever. But it's great to see them played out that way.
Yeah.
The thing I wasn't super happy about was the dragons. Like, for me, it kind of like... it was the only time in this movie where I actually genuinely lost interest. Because there's been this,
I totally get what you're saying.
There's been this concept of, for whatever reason, like dragons has been like a big thing recently. Obviously they did Game of Thrones, they did in this movie. Let's revisit.
Super big thing. Two examples.
Hang on. I have one more.
D-Wars?
No, the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Well, it was the Hobbit trilogy.
The Hobbit trilogy. Okay, so. Like, I just am not a huge fan of it. I don't like it. It wasn't my thing. And I get this idea that he is the dragon, but then let him be the dragon, not like controlling a dragon. Let him be the dragon in spirit and form and as a physical being.
Well, and also when I saw the dragon in the trailer, I was like, oh, we're getting Fing Fang Foom. Like I totally thought it would be Fing Fang Foom.
Okay.
But and I do like dragons, but however, I like medieval stuff, so I do like medieval dragons. I don't really care much for the Asian depiction of a dragon.
Yeah.
The sort of long serpent and stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean you're right, because that sequence does go on for a bit.
Yeah.
For a bit, it goes on for a while.
Yes, it does.
And yeah, I mean, okay, I definitely get that, because you have the Mandarin opening the gates to regain his power because he's been locked back there. Mm-hmm. Well, he gets like one soul. He gets Death Dealers or Death Watches, Death Blank, his soul, and then like a couple other people. But then it's funny. Then you see the bat creatures flying back with like a shit ton of souls. But, like, there was only like 30 people in that village. Yeah, right. I mean, maybe they took a lot more of like Mandarin soldiers, but still. And then like. If he sucks our dragon soul, giggity, then he'll be unstoppable. And then like, what is he? There's fucking uppercuts him or something. Like Shang Chi just uppercuts this big ass monster. Although it was badass the way he did kill him.
No, absolutely. But again, it's just, to me, it's like this is something that Marvel has not explored. They've never done this concept in the way that they did this movie with that, bringing in these like giant mystical creatures and they're fighting and like, so I think for me it was a little, I just kind of felt like it was not relevant to the movie. The movie had so much fucking steam, and then it was like that was the only point where I was like, oh, this is kind of taking the wind out of my sails, because this movie is fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
And that's where I kind of got lost, and I'm not a huge fan of that sequence. Yeah. You know what I mean?
No, for sure. And like I said, that sequence does go on for a minute. Uh-huh. Like it goes on for a while. Mm-hmm. It was cool. it's cool when they're driving in and you see all the mystical, like the mythical creatures that are there.
Yeah.
Some would call cryptids. I don't think you call it that when it's Asian.
Are you a zoo cryptoologist?
A crypto. Fuck. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, I mean, not really. I mean, fucking certified or anything. But seeing them all and then some of them taking part in the battle, like when the lion thing, when they're taking part in the battle, that's really cool. But yeah, then the dragon sequence goes on for a while because I also figured behind that door, and there might be some comic book creature that is called the one who dwells in darkness.
Yeah,
I'm sure there is. I not super well versed in that. So
yeah.
Before we wrap this up, though, I want to talk about one more person. My friend and yours, Trevor Slattery, making his return. I was gonna be so bummed if Ben Kingsley did not show up. I mean, so when I went to the restroom, he told me they mentioned him, and I was like, don't just leave him to just a mention, goddammit. And then we had the best comic, and the whole movie's fucking pretty funny, but he had the best comic relief with bringing Ben Kingsley back.
100%. 100%.
I was gonna be so upset if we didn't get Trevor Slattery, because obviously he had to show up.
And I love his character.
It would have sucked if it was you just saw his bones.
I love his character still being his character, and just kind of really what he is a failed actor.
Not only just a failed actor, a failed an ex druggy drunk failed actor, and only ex failed drunky and druggy because he's literally been locked up since Iron Man 3 with the Mandarin, and the only reason he's not dead is because they all liked his Macbeth.
Yes,
and the fact that he's locked up so much that he literally thinks the mythological creature that's living with him
is
his imagination
until they realize that they can actually see him. Morris,
the weird. What do you call him? The pig chicken. Was it pig chicken?
Yeah, pig chicken, I think, was the accurate thing. And you know what? I mean...
And also when he's playing dead.
Ben... Yeah. And just... You know what I love about actors like Ben Kingsley? Is that they're never too willing to take a serious role. They just enjoy the concept of acting to where he is like...
Oh no! I know.
I'm just going to enjoy this.
You mean more like they're never too big to take a non-serious role.
Yes.
Yeah, because Ben Kingsley, I mean, he's a world-renowned actor.
I think never too serious to take a big role. He can still. He's not putting himself above doing something that's just enjoyable that people want to see.
Yeah.
And as you said, it's great to see him reprise that role.
Yeah.
Because I think fans wanted to see that.
Definitely.
And just giving fans the service of being like, hey, you know what? Fuck it. I had fun playing this character. I will revisit that.
And, kind of to something you were saying earlier about, this is Marvel sort of, acknowledging that, we fucked up with Iron Man 3 and the way we portrayed the Mandarin. Had it just been Ben Kingsley, like I said this earlier, had it just been Ben Kingsley as that version of the Mandarin, that would have been awesome. Without the Aldrich Killian, or if had Aldrich Killian just been the leader of AIM, and but we still had him as the Mandarin, and maybe he had something with the rings, but keeping that in line and going he got taken, the end of the All Hail the King short, that was canon, and he did get taken by the Mandarin, and having him back just for. I mean, well, granted, he's in the fucking rest of the movie. He's in damn near half the movie.
Yeah.
And he's fantastic. When they walked into that when they were trying to get out and they walked into that cell, and I saw the mirror, it was that's an actor's mirror. I'm like, yes. Yes, we get Trevor Slattery back. And I knew it was gonna be straight comic relief. I knew it wasn't gonna be being serious. I mean, maybe he was the man in the iron mask and just be under there crazy and I've been in prison forever. Maybe it could have been that, but I love that we got literally him helping them out, helping them to get to Talo,
I mean, because he was
Yeah, he
literally
was helping the whole time.
He was the translator between Morris
and him telling his story about how he thought the apes in Planet of the Apes were real.
I love it, and that's why he wanted to become an actor.
That's why he wanted to become an actor. Not because you could train monkeys to ride horses.
Yeah,
that was why he wanted to become an actor. That was fucking amazing.
Fantastic.
And then again, him faking, then him telling Morris to fake his own death, and Morris then rolls over. It was so good.
No,
I'm not really dead, you dummy. lay down, and you'll die too.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's wrap it up now.
So let's wrap it up then. I guess what we're going to get into is the 12 monkeys and
our monkeys.
I am going to throw this out there. Shang-Chi for me was 11 out of 12.
Nice.
It's
nice.
It's
Solid
not
score.
It is not perfect.
No.
But
I mean
this movie was fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I grew up watching kung fu movies. Loved it.
Yeah.
I love all of them. The choreography in this movie is mind-blowing.
Bar none.
There's no choreography that I've ever seen in a kung fu movie that can compete with this. It was incredible. And I think that you really have to, like, I want to rewatch it because there's subtleties in the movements and how the choreography goes that just makes this so fantastic. I mean, the choreography is
it's lightning fast.
It's
lightning fast.
It is lightning fast, and it's just great. And the acting, the whole story. I mean, this was a fantastic movie. I cannot wait to see Shang-Chi come back into the MCU because they killed it. The MCU just continues to bring these characters. You know, again, we were talking about earlier. You could have done this with Iron Fist, but they didn't. They went a different route.
Well, because they already did Iron Fist, and it mostly because the actor decided he didn't care, so it's his fault.
But then they brought in a different character, and they moved with that, and they rolled with that, and honestly, like, it's just fucking amazing. This movie was great. The choreography was up. Never seen anything like it, honestly.
No, I'm gonna go 10. And my only down is just kind of what we talked about, that dragon battle lasted way too long.
That's why I gave it 11.
Yeah. it, like literally, like that dragon battle just lasts way too long. Again, just going back to what I said earlier, you know, when they first announced Shang-Chi, wow, that was, it just the way I did that seemed awkward. When they first announced Shang-Chi. Again, I can't remember if it was Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings or if it was just Shang-Chi. I was so surprised, but now after watching it and seeing how it was fucking amazing, and I do think they're, you know, a little bit going back to the well, but I think it's going to work. It's going to work again. I think we're setting up a new phase. We have the multiverse stuff going on. We have more stuff to introduce, and this is just a train that is just going forward. And I know a lot of people are like, a lot of people who are not into this stuff are getting sick of superhero movies. Fuck it, bring them on, dump them on me,
dude.
I mean, release from the MCU, at least from the MCU, because
100%,
because they've not failed yet. I mean, there's a couple missteps there.
Yeah,
maybe a couple like less than great ones.
Yeah,
but for the most part, they're all fucking really great. And again, saying this is like this is being like the actual cinematic entrance into Phase 4, I'm really excited to see what they do, and especially if it's like the Nega Bands,
100%,
especially if the rings end up being like the Nega Bands, or we're calling Galactus, or we're calling Nova, or whatever's gonna happen. I am here for it, and I'm stoked. And again, this movie was so much fucking fun. I want to see it again just because, again, it was so much fucking fun.
Yeah,
it was fun.
It was great. It was fantastic.
I'm going to say fun one more time just because.
There's that word
and
again,
then
fun. Why is everything so fun in the future?
And that's really my take. 10 out of 12. And again, the only down is just that end battle with the dragons did last a little bit long, and it took away from Shang-Chi's battle with
and I agree, and I think that's, you know, again, that's why I rated it that way. But all right, you guys, we hope that you liked this episode. Please like, subscribe, If you have
all the
any
things.
questions or comments, please leave them down there at the bottom. And we will be back next time to...
And again, if you want us to talk about anything else, let us know
Yeah,
in the comments
absolutely.
or message us.
Yeah, absolutely.
DM us or... Well, don't DM us.
No, DM us.
DM us, comment on us, or do whatever.